Good morning. We form a quorum, then it's already the starting time, so I call the meeting to order. Today we'll continue to examine the two discussion papers which were presented to us on the 26th of June. May I remind members that if you have any direct or indirect pecuniary interest in relation to the discussion items today, then in accordance with Rule 83A of our Rules of Procedure, you should disclose the nature of such interest before you speak. I also would like to refer members to pay attention to Rule 84 of the Rules of Procedure relating the casting of votes when you have a direct pecuniary interest in relation to the discussion item. We have two items on projects in relation to landfills. As in the last meeting, we will have a combined discussion, and then the two papers will be voted on separately. Members, if you are a panel member and want to speak, please press the request to speak button. And if you are not a panel member, please raise your hands, and the Secretariat would arrange the order in accordance with the order of raising hands by you. Paper number 1, PWSC 2013-14-20, 163 DR, Northeast anti-landfill extension. This is to propose the upgrading of 163 DR to Category 8 and an estimated cost of $7,026.9 million in money of the day prices for the extension of the Northeast New Territories landfill. The second paper is PWSC 2013-14 number 21. This is to propose the upgrading of part of 165 DR to Category 8 and an estimated cost of $35.1 million in money of the day prices in order to engage consultants to carry out a study and also to make necessary preparation for the extension of West NT landfill. To answer our questions, we have the following officials in attendance: Mr. Kam-lam, the Secretary for the Environment, Mr. Lam Kai-chung, Deputy Director, Dr. Chen Ying-lung, the Assistant Director, and Principal EPO, Mr. Lau Ming-ching. Members, please raise your hand or press the request to speak button as appropriate. Mr. Wong. Thank you, Chairman. At the last PWSC meeting, we spent at length the operations of landfills, such as management issues, transfer stations, utilizations, and improvement to the RCVs. I would like to talk about the blueprints, and that is a reduction at source. According to the action blueprint, we are embarking on a number of measures. In the summer, we are going to conduct a public consultation on a charge on domestic waste. And we're also going to initiate a program to reduce food waste. And we want to reduce the percentage for landfills from 52% to 22%. If we want to go for this particular objective, we need a more robust recycling industries. So we are going to be more proactive on this. Because they are commercial operations and they would impinge on a number of areas, planning, government procurement, and so on and so forth. So we're going to step up coordination among departments. The CS4A is going to shortly convene a steering committee on the promotion of the recycling industry so that departments can work together to promote the long-term development of the recycling industries and to create the so-called green-collar jobs. And we are also going to look at ways and means to provide subsidies to the recycling industries. In the meantime, we're going to make the best use of the environmental protection fund to carry out different programs in housing estates. So we are going to look at ways and means to promote the long-term development of the recycling industries. And we're also going to have 5 regional recovery stations implemented. These would recover waste such as electronic waste, glass bottles, so as to encourage the development of a culture of environmental protection and recycling. And gradually this will be extended to all the 18 districts. All these measures to reduce waste and to recycle waste would increase the ratio of recycling in Hong Kong. So the ratio can be enhanced from 48% to 55%. We hope we can achieve this ratio early. And with the modern incineration facilities in place in the future, we can reduce the waste significantly sending to our landfills. Some 40% of waste are food waste. So we have food-wise campaigns so as to reduce 10% of food waste or 300 tons. And the Eco Park has already approved a plan on handling food waste. Altogether, we can reduce 600 tons of food waste. And the ECF will also be subsidizing the housing estates and NGOs to recover and process food waste on locations, including schools. All of these, taken together, can reduce 1/4 of food waste sent to our landfills. There will be more organic waste recovery center. We are going to exceed the 25% target in the future. We have been talking about Tuen Mun landfill for quite some time. The government has set up a platform to cooperate with Tuen Mun District Council. In the town center, we are going to set up an air quality monitoring station, and we are also going to provide more impetus for the development of Samsung seafood market. Having taken on board the views of the liaison group and the residents, we would consider the widening of Bin Lim Wan Road, and we also attach importance to the proposal to provide an alternative access road to the landfill so that the landfill will be more acceptable. And we are going to discuss other items raised by the liaison committee, such as the bridge project, the CS4A, I myself, and relevant senior officials would liaise closely with the district personnel so as to take forward these projects and implement them in due course. Last time, 22 members actually spoke, and 1 non-panel member also spoke. Here's the list, just to aid your memory. Mr. Michael Tin, Mr. Lo Wai Kwok, Mr. Leung Chi Chang, Dr. Fernando Cheung, Mr. Tam Yu Chang, Ms. Alice Mack, Ms. Sid Ho, Mr. Gary Chan, Mr. Alan Leung, Mr. Yik Chi Ming, Mr. Charles Mock, Mr. Wu Chi Wai, Ms. Emily Lau, Mr. Gary Pham, Mr. Chen Yun Han, Ms. Ann Jiang, Mr. Albert Chan, Mr. Yip Kwok Hin, Dr. Kenneth Chan, and Mr. Tony Chia, Mr. James To, and Mr. Chan Hang Ban. Mr. Fung Kim Kei didn't speak in the first round, although he indicated that he wanted to speak. And Mr. James To wanted a second round, so I'll ask those who haven't spoken in the first round to speak first. Are we going to discuss and vote on the items today, or are you saying that upon reaching certain time we are going to cast our votes? Actually, I want to know whether we are going to vote on the items today. Of course, I would like to complete the discussion and proceed to a vote today. Whether we can actually do this depends on the questions raised by members. I'm going to chair the meeting in accordance with our rules of procedure. Mr. Kam-lam for the first round. Last time we had 3 items and then 1 item was withdrawn. With regard to landfills and refuse and waste, I think this is commonly known that come some future days we are going to face a problem of being besieged by the waste. If we don't solve this problem, it's going to be going to plague us for a long time. I've looked at the relevant locations. Those are relatively remote, especially if the locations are in the NT. I would say the choice of location is relatively speaking reasonable, and we need to have landfills because in the short term, we cannot have incineration in the near future. So landfills present a realistic solution, and landfills would create a minimal impact on people because they are relatively remotely located. So I agree with this observation. But still, there are people who think that they suffer from pollution, especially for those living near the landfills in the NT, and especially when you take into account the air direction, the wind direction. We have noise barriers, but can we have something to reduce odor problems? For example, some ventilation facilities or some spraying of rainfall or water, so that there should be some segregation. For example, a fan to reduce odor blowing towards residential areas, or get some spraying facilities to reduce particulates. So there must be ways and means to reduce or to minimize the impact caused by pollution. And also, we should step up reduction, or we should step up the pollution reduction at source. Well, and I'm not asking this as something mandatory, but we need to do something about the roads. All preparation must be made for the incineration facilities, so that when the court case is completed, you can proceed right away. Although there's a JR case, I'm not asking you to jump the gun, but you should do all the necessary preparations to safeguard public interest, so as to reduce reduce delay. Secretary, please say something about reduction of nuisance or pollution to show people that you are sincere about this.
Thank you, Mr. Ng. Basically, I agree with Mr. Ng. We've stated that we will step up our effort on reducing waste at source, and we will also, so that the 52% will be down to 20% regarding the percentage of waste to be taken to the landfill. Regarding the latest technologies, we'll certainly follow up on those, and where feasible, we'll try our best to minimize the nuisance from caused by landfills. Any further follow-up, Mr. Ng? No. Members will now move on to the second round of questions, and we have 8 or 9 members who have indicated that they would like to speak. And they are James To, Albert Chan, Alice Mack, Wu Chi Wai, Dr. Lo Wai Kwok, Tam Yu Chung, Francis Yik, Frankie Yik, Fernando Zhang, and Leung Chi Chang. So members who wish to speak, will you please press the button, and I'll allow 4 minutes for each member. Mr. James To, Chairman, I'd like to ask questions regarding the waste reduction measures and mitigating measures. We've been talking about the charges in the refuse transfer stations. I'd like to ask the administration whether or not such transfer stations can help reduce pollution, including sewers and so on. And looking at it from this angle, would the government reduce it to such a level that there will be no incentive for people to ensure that the waste which has not yet been compressed to be taken to the landfills directly? Thank you, Mr. To. At the last meeting, I think we discussed a similar point. We will review the refuse, the spare capacity in the existing refuse transfer stations. We'll also review the fees charged by such stations so that we can make more optimal use of such stations. For example, the waste are being carried by sea rather than on road. And also after the refuse has been compressed, certainly it will help. We'll certainly follow up on this actively. Chairman, when did you first come up with this idea? When was this idea first put to you? Why didn't you mention it when you prepared your paper, Mr. To? For different transfer stations, I think they are used more or less in an optimal manner, although there is still some room for enhancement. But whether or not that is related to the extension of the 3 landfills. In our blueprint, if there should be any changes to the extension of the 3 landfills, it will affect their capacity. So we'll do it step by step. On the one hand, we will follow the blueprints and extend the 3 landfills. If we could do that, then we can make more optimal use of the capacity of these transfer stations. Chairman, some Tim Mun residents think that if you, given the 200 hectares, that is the size of the landfill there, and even if CY Leung are fortunate enough to serve for 2 terms, and so will you, then you probably will not think about this. So will the government consider reducing the 200 hectares so that the government will be under greater pressure? Let's say reducing it from 200 to 50 hectares, so that the government will always be under the pressure to consider other measures. Otherwise, once your proposal is approved after you've have sufficient votes, then we will be stuck with this situation for more than a decade. So will you have the sincerity to convince the Tim Mun residents that you will still consider the other alternative options, such as reducing waste at source? I think you should put pressure on yourself. Of course, as far as you're concerned, this may not be the ideal solution, but for the residents, this is the only way to show that you have the determination, that you will really do a good job in terms of reducing waste at source. We will be proactive. According to our blueprint, we will reduce the percentage of waste from 55% to 22%, namely that is the amount of rubbish to be landfill. Regarding the size and capacity of the landfills, we must look at the size first of all, and making reference of South Korea and Singapore. Even if we have incineration and other waste reduction measures, we still need landfills. Mr. Albert Chan. Chairman, I'd like to focus on the northwest, the extension of the northwest anti-landfill. I think it is closest to Black Point, and where there's about 7 villages. On the other side of the landfill is the power station, the CLP power station. The Black Point Road. I think every day there are many vehicles taking rubbish to the landfills, and with the landfill extended, there will be more vehicles traveling on the same road while residents are living on both sides of the road. As a result, the environment for the entire Black Point area will further deteriorate. After having a meeting, the residents at Black Point believe that you should relocate the landfill. As in the case of the Shek Pik Reservoir, you have to move an entire village from Lantau to Chin Wan. For example, you also relocated the Hoi Park village in Chin Wan because of the development there. And other villages have also been relocated when you develop Tin Mun. Of course, in Tin Mun, the residents at Black Point are a very small number. There are only about 700 houses. Compared with 0.6 million people living in Tin Mun, they are a very small number. But the extension of landfill there will mean a disaster to them, and the situation will only deteriorate further. Of course, the government has undertaken to reduce pollution, but the residents do not accept that because the overall environment there is very, very poor. And you are now saying that you're going to reclaim the sea outside Black Point for property development. You're repeating the same tragedy which happened at Chung Wan O. So would the government consider helping the Black Point residents? I believe that the proposal for the extension of landfill will be approved, despite my objection. But would the government consider helping the Black Point residents to relocate? And we make the recommendation to the Development Bureau. Without your recommendation, the Development Bureau will not do it. If you were to relocate the Black Point village, it will only cost you $700 million. It's not costing a lot. Mr. Secretary, would you consider recommending to the government that the entire Black Point village should be relocated? Thank you, Mr. Chan. On the one hand, we hope that going forward, we will try our best to enhance the entire waste management measures so that we can minimize the nuisance to residents living in the vicinity of the landfills. We've also said that in the district, Mr. Secretary, all these enhancement measures, I think you've talked about that many times to the Chung Wan residents. I think it will cost more if you adopt these enhancement measures than if you were to relocate the village. Let's say, for example, you promise the Chung Wan residents that all the tipping trucks will be fully enclosed. The increase in cost in the long term will be even more costly than relocating the entire village, and the residents would like to be relocated. Of course, when the government has not yet made a decision, you are willing to make that commitment. But would you be willing to conduct a study? The Black Point residents are very clear on this point. Mr. Lau Wong Fat is also in favor of that. So we're talking about flaws in the overall plan. Will you respect the views of the residents? Don't just stick to your official line. Mr. To, basically we will increase the percentage of garbage to be carried by sea, and we certainly would listen to the views of residents. I think if you stick to the same argument, the residents will be blocking the road there. We are proposing an option, a way out for you, but you're not accepting it. I think if the residents at Black Point were to block up the road there, are you going to arrest them all? Mr. Ellis Mack, I must reiterate the position of the FTU once again. We agree that in Hong Kong, we need to do something as soon as possible in terms of waste reduction. Even if we're not going to be overwhelmed by waste, I think our efforts in reducing waste is not really, seeing any improvements. We always insist that the government should set up to set up a recycling industry and create the so-called green collar jobs. I think this you need to invest in the green industries, which can create employment and will benefit the economy. So this will actually result in a win-win situation. Mr. Secretary, you told us some of your thoughts, but I hope that you will try as soon as possible try to do something to set up such a fund so that we can see that you have the determination. We don't want to support your policy, and after the government doesn't do anything further, and you will still only come to LegCo and tell the public the waste would need to be, treated. Otherwise, we'll be overwhelmed with rubbish. So, if the government is willing to do something, we'll give you a support. I'd like to reiterate once again that for these measures, these waste reduction measures, if you're going to set up a facility in one district, you must consider the views of the local residents. The views of the local residents and what infrastructures they need, including highways and so on, that can help the development of the district. The development of some infrastructures will provide opportunities for other infrastructural development. If the government wants to have the support of the local residents and the public, you should talk to the local residents as early as possible, listen to and respond to their aspirations. This is very important. Otherwise, even if your proposal is approved today, you will still be being criticized as you work, implement these measures. And this is not good for your team. While you are determined to do something, but the local residents don't know what you're doing, and you won't have the support. And while you're implementing all these measures, you're being criticized. And this would not be fair to you or the government either. So that's why the FTU always say that before such works are being carried out, if the publicans have not yet seen that you have the determination to do that, will the government withdraw this proposal? Only when you have our support will you resubmit the proposal. And then after we've seen that the government is really doing something, that we can give you your support. Ms. May, you're repeating the point you made last time. Chairman, I have a new point to make. Today, the Tim Mun District Council should be in session now. They'll be starting at 9. They will be discussing the subject of landfill, and that's why I hope the government will withdraw your proposal so that the District Council will have a thorough discussion. I understand that the EPD will be attending the Tim Mun District Council meeting. Will you wait until they've liaised with the councillors there before you put forward the proposal, so that we want to work with the government and do a better job in terms of waste reduction. We don't want the existing policy to continue. Secretary, would you respond briefly to that? Basically, recycling, waste reduction, and liaising with the local residents, I think we share a common view as to whether we will certainly step up liaison with the local districts. Our colleagues will be going to the Tim Mun District Council to explain our position to the councillors there. What about the environmental fund?
As I've said, we are committed to respond to such views, and we will take follow-up action. Mr. Shin Chung Kai, I want to talk about the recycle industry. The administration has invested billions of dollars into campaigns on environmental protection. Well, it's not something bad, but it's the government's involvement, direct involvement. It's acting like a big government. Well, if this is a lucrative industry, private enterprises will already be doing it, but it's difficult. It's difficult to make a profit, or there will be no profit at all. But the government has to be involved in order to provide some solution. If the government is involved directly, then what you have to do is to inject funds continually to support these industries. But if you look around, other countries are doing this. If you say, watch European news, they have recycling yards, handling waste tires, and so on. And now we have campaigns, awareness campaign. Yes, it's important to raise people's awareness, but what is even more essential is to actually reduce waste. So instead of having such campaigns, we might as well do something concrete to promote the recycle industries. For example, on ways to handle the construction waste, a lot of it can be recycled and reused. Sometimes the government would say that you don't have the expertise. Well, you can hire experts, you can set up a corporation to do it, you can ask someone to do it for you, and so on and so forth. You can also set up government-owned enterprises really doing the recycling. And that would be a reduction of waste as source. And of course, the price is going to be set by the market. At the Environmental Affairs panel, I asked these questions. I said, you spend $1 on each glass bottle for the disposal. What about plastic bottles? If you have a systematic way of recycling plastic bottles, then the landfill will be under much less pressure. Actually, the old plastic bottles have some value, but the government keep dragging its feet. A lot seems to be happening, but nothing has been achieved. The Democratic Party would like you to do something in the action blueprint. Please tell us how you're going to promote the recycle industry, in what areas you are going to do more, what kind of facilities, and at what location would they be found. If you subsidize the recycling industry, you have to pay a cost. But it's also costly for you to receive waste at landfills. So maybe you can balance out the two in terms of costs. Secretary, as I said at the very outset, without affecting the cost effectiveness, socially speaking, we are going to consider more ways to support the recycling industries. For example, the provision of a subsidy. We are going to set up a steering committee on the promotion of sustainable development of the recycle industry to be led by the CS4A. We're going to look at the manpower, land, and planning so as to increase the ratio of waste recovery. Mr. Wu Chi-wai, according to the Secretary, the CS4A will be leading a steering committee. It's a piece of good news, but still, now it's the crunch time. We have to make a decision. So I would like to know when the steering committee will be set up. Are you resorting to the strategic wording? That is, you tell us about the steering committee, but we don't know when it will be set up. In the Northeast NT, I know that you have suspended the development plan for Ping Chair, but the Development Bureau has not told us that it will be shelved permanently. So are we going to see a repeat of the Lohas Park in Ping Chair? And also we are going to have reclamation very near the existing landfill. So among the bureaus, has there been coordination of work? Have we learned from the Lohas Park incident? Because if on one hand you have reclamation, you may have another Lohas Park, and then you have the landfill with residents there, then you are going to the grievance building up. So what are you going to do to respond to the dissatisfaction? So Is it the way the coordination in government is done, that you are responsible for environmental protection and Mr. Paul Chan would just set his eye on development? I think you have already asked this question last time. Secretary, in a few months, we are going to set up the steering committee. In terms of planning, we have an internal mechanism within the government to coordinate works in different departments, 3S. We, THP and development bureaus have regular meetings. We certainly pay attention to what has happened to Cheung Kwan O. I know that when you proposed the extension of the Cheung Kwan O landfill, the EPD actually objected, saying that it was not feasible. But then the government insisted on doing it. How are you going to prevent a repeat of the same incident? Director? Well, actually, the Cheung Kwan O landfill extension was the proposal from the EPD. I'm sorry, I was actually talking about the Lohas Park project. At that point, the EPD objected to allow the Lohas Park project to go ahead. So how can you make sure that the EPD's proposals will be taken on board and duly considered by the government as a whole? Dr. Chan, thank you, Mr. Wu. With regard to the planning of the Lohas Park, at the EA panel meeting, we submitted a supplementary paper detailing the background of the Lohas Park project. It's very detailed. Perhaps members can refer to the paper which we sent to the EA panel secretariat on the 21st of June. That is area 86, and what factors were considered by the planning department. I was asking how the government can ensure that there will be no repeat of the Lohas Park incident. Well, we have learned a bitter lesson from Cheung Kwan O. I think bureaus and departments will certainly pay attention to that. Dr. Lo Wai Kuo, thank you. The BPA is of the view that we should take a multi-pronged approach to handle waste. And it's already the right time to implement the relevant policies. Chairman, people from the academic circle, from the business and professional sectors have set up a green alliance. And we have organized a seminar on how to handle waste. Some 300 people attended the seminar, and I think their views are very representative. They unanimously came to the view that we are very worried by the lack of progress. We haven't got any incineration facilities, and the extension of landfill is suffering from a lot of problems. As a professional engineer, I have to say that infrastructure in relation to landfill is very complicated. We have to have the leak-proof layout. We have to have a system to recover leachate, and also there is gas coming out from landfill. The gas must be collected and disposed of. If properly handled, the landfill gas can be used as fuel, and also we must have a proper road access. So we cannot afford to waste any more time to get started. Together with some professionals, we are very worried about the current state of affairs, because we are not moving an inch forward because of the political climate. And people know the reasons, the justifications, but still they would object because of various reasons. So we are not moving forward. I will leave some time for the Secretary to respond to some of the questions that we raised last time, and that is in Tuen Mun. It's not just the landfill. There are many other facilities on environmental protection, the eco parks, and so on and so forth. These have exerted pressure on the roads there. Although we don't have a big population near those facilities, unlike Zhongguanou, but they are still bordered by these facilities. So what are you going to do in terms of traffic diversion to reduce nuisance and also to actually solve the transport and traffic problems? Secretary, I agree with the member that timing-wise, it's an urgent project to do something about our landfills. We are going to use more sea transport and reduce road transport so as to minimize the impact on the local population. As we have been talking about, we'll be looking at the fees and charges of refuse transfer station and the design of vehicles. I believe this is good for improving traffic. And we're also going to respond to local aspirations. We'll conduct a study to look at whether waste of a northwest NT will have one more bypass road to take away some of the pressure from Lim Wan Road. And it's hoped that this will reduce the pressure on nuisance, and also going to reduce the traffic generated by RCVs as a percentage of total traffic. Mr. Tam Yu-chung, at the very outset, the Secretary made some very important points about the recycling industry. If the government doesn't give them strong support, including financial support, it's difficult for these industries to sustain their operations. For example, if you look at plastic bottles, once they are recovered, they will be compressed and shipped to the mainland. This is no longer not possible, and they are now asked to clean them and cut them into pieces, involving a high cost before they can ship it out. Recyclers find it difficult or impossible for them to do this on their own. So the government must find ways to make them sustainable and keep these recyclers in operation. So there must be some cost to pay. And you talk about the north-south bypass to take away some pressure from Lim Wan Road. This is important. Otherwise, near Long Mun Road in Tuen Mun, the residents will be suffering from the traffic generated by the refuse collection vehicles. And gradually, more and more vehicles will be going to West NT landfill. So you also have to consider increasing the sea transport of refuse. You must seriously consider ways to minimize nuisance, and there's also the need to increase communication with residents. For the West NT landfill, you must step up communication with Tuen Mun and Yuen Long, the district councils. You should listen to their views. You should tell them what you are going to do to improve the environment. Don't think that by securing the funding approval from this council, everything is well. And then when you come next time, you will just give us another speech. And it's not the Environment Bureau. According to the Secretary, we have learned that the CS4A will be coordinating the work of different bureaus and departments. Because sometimes the Bureau will tell us that they will try to do something, and if it's not possible to do it, the problem will remain, and the problem will linger, and the community will suffer as a whole. So I hope the Secretary will be responding to our views more positively.
Secretary, I think I agree basically with Mr. Tam. talking about the recycling industries, in the mainland, they have recently changed its policy, which has affected the local recycling industry. As I said earlier, we'll step up our efforts and come up with a mechanism and also to ensure that we can support the local recycling industry on a sustainable basis, so that our application for funding is for an advanced study for the landfill Tuen Mun. We hope that from the technological level we can respond to the local aspirations, including how we can minimize the nuisance to the local residents, so that we can respond to the aspirations of the population there. Like the councillor said, we'll step up communication with the residents in Tuen Mun and Yuen Long. Mr. Frankie Yek. Thank you, Chairman. At the last meeting, I stated the position of the Liberal Party. We understand that the residents in any district will not welcome the extension of the landfills in the district. However, we understand that we are faced with the problem of the need to deal with the waste. So, to take the lesser evil, we will support the proposal to extend the northeast and anti and west anti landfills. Last week, when friends from our industry were interviewed by the media, they said that since the trucks will need to travel a longer distance to dump the refuse, they expect that the tipping charge will go up. I hope the Bureau will consider providing more refuse transfer stations and carry more of the garbage by sea in order to reduce the nuisance to the residents and to relieve the pressure on our road system, and also ensure that charges will not go up in future. Mr. Ng also raised the point about the incinerator. The government is awaiting the result of the JR. The Liberal Party agrees that the government should do more advanced work, so that once the ruling is made, you can immediately push ahead with the project. I don't think we have any choice. We should consider building the new generation of incinerators. Mr. Alice Mack talk about the need to support the recycling industries, and Ms. Mack talk about the environmental fund. Basically, we're talking about how we can support the recycling industry. Last week at one of the panel meetings, you suggested you only offer a site and people can bid for it, but there are no supporting facilities. The recycling industry is operating in a very difficult situation, so they need support from government. So I support the government's proposal for the extension of 2 landfills. Because it will allow time for the government to implement its blueprint for waste reduction for the next 10 years. Today, while the 2 permanent secretaries for the Development Bureau is here, our colleagues from the North District would like me to bring up this point. That is the Anti-West Cultural Civic Center. The LCSD recently only said that they will consult the residents on its design. I hope the Development Bureau expedite its effort in this area. Dr. Fernando Zhang. Last week, I talked about the problem of sewers at Takuling, and I went there on a visit together with the EPD officers. When we were there, the situation we saw was really shocking. The sewers and the odor were gone, and the grass on the road surface were all cut. On the day I was there, the grass was almost 2 feet tall. A week later, I went there on the 21st for the first time, and I went again on the following week. And they have actually, cut all the grass. I asked the administration what they have done to clear the sewers. I heard that they told us that they did not touch the sewers at all. What the EP did was simply to cut the grass there. So I'd like to put on record today and ask them to clearly answer this question. That is after June the 22nd, when I was at the scene, And through the villagers and the media, I reviewed how the water was polluted there. And then the EPD, or anyway the administration, I like to ask whether or not they went there and had they done anything. Dr. Chet, I'll say something and then my colleague Mr. Lau will supplement. Mr. Lau went on that visit with the councillor. The location, Dr. Cheung said, is one of the catchment area at Pingyo River. We explained to the councillor that this catchment area was not our catchment area. We went to Gongyu River, and Mr. Lau could perhaps supplement. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Cheung, for your question. On that day, I explained to Dr. Cheung that the location was a water quality monitoring point, and we will always carry out our monitoring work there. We saw, Mr. Cheung said that the grass had been cut along the road there. I think we do carry out periodic grass cutting work there in order that vehicles can arrive at the spot so that we can conduct our water quality monitoring work. And the water there in the past has actually passed satisfied our standard. I'd like to clarify, that is, what have you done after June the 22nd, other than cutting the grass there? On the 22nd of June, and also when Dr. Chen went to the spot again, we had our colleagues to take water samples there. In order that our vehicles could arrive at the scene, we did cut the grass there. If they had taken water samples there, I hope they will provide us with the water quality report for the samples taken for the last 3 years, including the latest samples that they've taken. Perhaps they can respond to that. We'll certainly be willing to supply the information. Chairman, this morning, some Takuling residents, most of them are not indigenous residents, but they've still been living there for generations. And those who came this morning, I believe most of them were born in Takuling. Whether it's Pingyangchun or the neighboring area, it's very likely that they will be affected by the sewers. Regarding the extent of pollution, we don't know, but I have a letter here, which I would like to give to the Secretary. Mr. Leung Chi Chung. Thank you. The administration has come up with some improvement measures. For example, for the West NT landfill, they will consider constructing more roads and carrying more of the waste by sea. This gives us the impression the government has suddenly woken up. In the past, everybody was criticizing the government. I've also received from the residents numerous complaints about the odor coming from and the hygienic problems arising from the landfill. We've been talking about this for such a long time. Why is that you now, it's because you need to extend the landfill that you have come up with these improvement measures? I have the impression that you've just woken up to the problem. In the past, you simply turned a blind eye to the problem. We are also equally worried that is, once we approve the extension of the landfills, all these improvement measures may vanish. So, other than NT West, for the landfill NT East, you will need to allow members time to see out whether you're really going to make these such improvements or carry out such enhancement work. Once you obtain funding for the extension, and if in future the residents complain that there are still no improvements, what can we do? Mr. Albert Chen said that the Black Point residents would like to have their village relocated. Is that the intention? I hope the Secretary will personally talk to the villagers there. I understand that you've talked to the villagers in Hapak Lai village, and the doctor had talked to them. Have you talked to the residents living in the villages? Relocating villages is a serious matter. For the residents of Hapak Lai, they say that if you cannot improve on the environment, they would also ask for relocation. I'd like to ask the officials whether or not you talked to the residents living at the Black Point village. The district council only discussing this this morning. So you seem to be jumping the gun. Of course, you've come here and asked us to approve your proposal before consulting the local residents, and then the local residents will certainly feel that they're not being respected. Thank you, Mr. Lau. All along, whether it's Ha Chun, Ha Bak Leung, or Black Point, we've been communicating to the villagers there. For Ha Bak Lai village, some residents want to be relocated, others do not. We'll continue to talk to them. For Black Point village, Lung Kutan village, we've talked to the two village heads. We had a lot of communication with the two of them, but I've not heard the two of them saying that they want the village to be relocated. Normally, in our communication with them, we always talk about improving the environment, improving the road traffic, and the water quality. Well, the secretary said that you will build a new road. For the $30 million fee for the study, would that be included as part of the project? We are now applying funding for the consultancy fees and investigations. That would only be sufficient to pay for the study. Regarding the expansion of the road, we will try our best to come up with a separate project as soon as possible for that. Chairman, for the anti-waste landfill, it's now you propose that it will be extended to 200 hectares. With the extension, it would mean that for the villagers living in the neighboring area, not only Ha Bak Lai, but also those living in Shenzhen will be affected. It is exactly because we need to conduct such a consultative study. And in the process of study, we need to study the potential impact on the neighboring area. We will, once we learn about the actual impact, will we go into the details. Ms. Sito. Chairman, I understand the urgency to tackle the problem of waste reduction, but the government doesn't seem to be aware of the urgency. The position of the Labour Party was I already spelled it out at last week. I asked them to reduce the proportion to 5%, and then there should be a $2 billion recurring expenditure every year. At the beginning of this morning, the Secretary said that in future there will be a committee and there will be recurring funding to subsidize the recycling industry. He also said that before actual funding is approved, he will invoke that fund and carry out the enhancement work in all 18 districts in the housing estates. In the past, we've never been able to ask the government to come up with $2 billion, in a month. But we have had precedents. A few years ago, the AFS said that the government will not change his position, and then 2 weeks later he dished out more than $30 billion. When the FS saw that he would not get any approval from electoral members, he will change his position. But if we have this an urgent problem to deal with the problem of waste disposal, why is the government not willing to come up with a $2 billion? Why is it that every year you keep on paying out cash, but the amount that you put into the recycling industry, you're unwilling to make a commitment to support the recycling industry? Chairman, if for whatever reasons the government have to wait until the policy address and the budget for next year before it will allocate the $2 billion, then I would suggest that we wait until the budget for next year is available, when there is an actual recurrent funding proposal, before I will vote on this. But on the other hand, I cannot, vote against the proposal because I'm aware that there's an urgent need to tackle the problem of waste disposal.
So I will abstain. I would like the Secretary to tell us how he's going to deal with the conflict, the dissatisfaction of residents. For example, what is the source of the sewer or water pollution in Kam-lam? Is it because of some leakage, or is it because of the worn-out protection system of the landfill? Can you tell us what the source of the pollution is? Secretary. well, the administration, like members, understands that we need to employ a basket of measures and enhance our measures to deal with it. As for the setting up of an environmental fund, we need to discuss this with the community. But what we are going to do is to adopt a new thinking. We'll look at the overall social benefit and not just the economic benefit of a recycling sector. I hope members will give us some time to discuss it with the community. As for the reduction, the efforts to reduce the share of landfilling, we are going to reduce it from 52% to 22%. And we will try to further suppress the percentage by lending more support to the recycling industry. And we can also make the best use of the ECF to initiate some measures right away. As for the water pollution of Northeast NT landfill, the water stream is to the south of the landfill. The two problems should be unrelated, but we'll be looking at the scientific evidence. We have taken some water sample to check whether to ascertain that is not a problem. Mr. Gary Chan, sometimes I have the feeling that the government will not do anything unless it's very urgent and there's no alternative. We've been asking for an alternative access road to the landfill. We have been asking them to help the recycling industry, and they did not do anything. And now they are willing to set up a fund to help the recycling industries. But please remember, Secretary, you did promise people what you are going to do with the refuse collection vehicle. You must faithfully implement those measures. Otherwise, when we come next time to ask for support for any extension of landfills, you are going to face tremendous difficulties. Some members have talked about Walking Shan in Tagulang, which has been affected by the water pollution. From the TV report, I saw that the EPD officer said that the sewer might not have come from the landfill. Can you tell us in an unequivocal terms that the sewer does not come from the landfill? Here, Secretary. So last time we said we are concerned that more RCVs will be diverted to the northeast landfill. And Dr. Chan Ying-Long said some would use the transfer stations. We know that if you go to a transfer station, you need to pay a fee, and that's a high fee. So can you assure us that only 100 will be diverted to the north East NT landfill, given the fees charged at transfer stations? Dr. Chan, our colleagues did go to Walking Shan to take a look. Actually, for the landfill, the water flow direction is to the north, to Kong Yu River, and not to the south. So we cannot rule out that the water pollution is caused by some other factor. We have taken water samples. If you look at the color of the sewer, it's rusty, so it may be caused by the natural material. It's something like orange color. It may be caused by some iron contents. So we have taken water samples, and we will find out the water quality there. So I think that's all I want to say about water quality. As for refuse transfer stations, we'll take into account the current situations and conduct a review. We would like to make better use of refuse transfer stations to reduce road traffic pressure. We will actively take follow-up action to balance the needs of different residents and different districts. Dr. Chan, can you tell us the findings of the water lab test before the FC meeting? Okay, I think another member has already asked for the same information. That should be no problem. Mr. Manila, I'm sorry I was late. I understand that the Tuen Mun District Council is now in session on the very same subject. I think the Secretary should allow sufficient time for this Council and for Tuen Mun District Council to discuss the matter. We should not have you here applying for funding approval in parallel with the District Council meeting. We are saying that in 2019, the Tuen Mun landfill will be fully utilized, and you have to extend it by 200 hectares. The residents are unhappy. They understand that they have a big piece of land, and you need land to dispose of waste. Should you extend it to the extent of 200 hectares? Do you have to do that? Or is it the result of your discussion with the local district that 200 hectares is the right size? So perhaps we can get a brief response concerning the discussion with Tuen Mun. Well, Tuen Mun is well located because it's accessible by sea. 60% of waste sent to the landfill will be by sea, or even more than that. So we should not just look at the size or the capacity. We should also look at the geographical advantages that it enjoys. If it's more by sea, then the nuisance cost to the district will be much reduced. This time is for an advanced study and investigation. We look at various aspects, the impact on the district, vehicular traffic, and also the right size of the extended landfill. In the process, we are going to talk to the local population, local residents, and also look at the the capacity that we may need after we introduce incineration. We are going to make the best use of sea transport, and also to other ways to reduce the number of trucks. So it's not a simple question of having a bigger landfill and then we'll have much more vehicles. And they're now having a district council meeting, and you're here asking for funding approval. So what kind of communication is this? So are you confident that the Tuen Mun District Council is going to support you? Or are you going to look at the various sizes, different sizes, instead of 200 hectares, maybe 100 or 150? Another options will be looked into. Actually, the 200 hectares is the overall size of extension. There will be phases: first, second, third, fourth, fifth. There will be preliminary EIA and feasibility. For the first phase, it's just 65 hectares. And the consultancy study will also look at other things. For example, whether the phasing can be adjusted. This is subject to review. What about District Council? Secretary, are you not going to answer this question? Actually, this funding is just for an advanced study. There will come a stage where we would communicate again with the District Council. So we certainly listen to the local views and aspirations. Mr. Michael Tin. I think the administration has gathered sufficient votes to date. Some members object to the very first proposal and have changed tact with regard to the second and the third landfills. I'm very disappointed. It's not because I'm from anti-West. I'm from anti-West constituency. It's a question of this being the territory-wide issue. Everyone is a waste producer, and all the existing landfills should collectively shoulder the burden. And now you have differential treatment. For Twin Moon, it's a 200. Chung Kwan O is just 13. And those that would produce odor would not go to Chung Kwan O, but would be handled by the Twin Moon and Ha Koo Lang. It shows that if you are vocal, if you object strongly, then your backyard will not be polluted. What kind of message does this approach send to our next generation? But this is a very negative education. I have already said, if we do not do it for all the three, I'm going to vote against the proposals. It's not something that, emotional. This is not just about my feeling or I'm trying to put up a show. I think we should vote on all the three landfills together and not one by one, so that we will not have so much gesturing and bargaining, political bargaining. If you say it's urgent, can we not wait for another year? On a per capita basis, we produce 1.1 kg per day. For Korea and Taiwan, it's 0.5. We need more transport stations. It can be done in a year. We want to have contained trucks, and there will be legislation. And instead of 1,000 vehicles, there will be 500 going to Chung Kwan O, so there will be results for all to see. So the resistance will be reduced. And also the fees, and there's a fee to be paid for using transport stations, and it's free to go to landfills. Why do you charge a fee if you want people to use it? And why do you want to make it free if you don't want the people to use the landfills? Long Koo Tan or Black Point, villagers want to have the village relocated. Well, if you have a 200 hectare landfill, who would like to live near that? Because very soon all the waste would go to the Long Koo Tan. So the residents are asking for something rather reasonable. If you are determined, you can do a lot of things within the 12 months, and then you come back present us with a bundle proposal for the three landfills. There would be every reason for members here to support it, although there is local resistance. They can just cite a collective responsibility. That's all I want to say. So I just want to restate my position. I'm sorry that I promised to be an officiating guest some months ago. I hope we can proceed to the vote by 10:30, or else I may have to just state that I object to all those proposals that we are discussing now. Ms. An Jiang, we've been told that in Hong Kong it's a losing business to recycle. It may not necessarily be true in my view. It depends on whether the government is willing to offer any support measures.
First question is whether or not the government has any policy to support the recycling industries. In other countries, if the recycling industry was successful, the only reason for that is that the government will at least undertake to help these industries and buy the products at least at the initial stage, so that at least they have a market, and therefore they're willing to make the investment. My second question is this. I note that in Twin Moon, the government is applying for $35 million for the consultancy fees and investigation. So what I'd like to know is that in this study, the $35 million study, will that study include, topics like environmental technologies and also whatnot? You can really, minimize the impact on the residents to the minimum. Regarding consultancy fees, my colleagues will elaborate later on. We have policy providing land for the eco park. Could you speak up louder, please? Thank you, Ms. Chiang. Thank you for the question. Regarding consultancy fees, my colleagues will supplement. Regarding our policy, we now have our land policy. For example, we have the eco park to support the recycling industries, and we also have short-term tendencies to support the recycling industries. At the same time, we have a green procurement policy to support the different environmental, the products of the green industries. We're taking our effort. We're now conducting a review as to how we can further enhance our procurement policy so that we can, satisfy member requests. Thank you, Ms. Chiang, for the question. If I may invite Ms. Chiang to go to para 11A of the paper in the outline design, studying on interfacing and handing overs and so on. All these are related to environmental improvement. All these projects are part of the $35 million study. That is how we can, further improve the environment. Next, we have 4 members who will be speaking for the third round. Do we have other members who have yet to ask the second round of questions? If not, I'll give 2 minutes to each member for the third round. James Toh, Wu Chi-wai, Fernando Zheng, and Albert Chen. Mr. James Toh. Chairman, I only have 2 minutes. Shouldn't it be 3 minutes? I think you should start. Why don't you start first? Well, there are some nuisances which what I mean is that a lot of garbage fall off the trucks on their way to the landfills. But the route is now fixed, especially when you're near the when it's a few kilometers near the landfills. Regarding the complaints against the nuisance, do you have someone who, at the time when the traffic to the landfill is the busiest, you have someone there to monitor the situation, so that the resident can rest assured that you will certainly have, take prosecution against the offenders? Thank you, Mr. Toh, for the question. I think Mr. Toh is referring to the anti-West landfill, the road leading to the anti-West landfill. At the moment, through Long Mun Road and Niman Road, going to the West NT landfill, we have about 270 tipping trucks taking waste to the landfill there. Regarding the waste falling off the trucks, we have some existing ordinance like the pipeline. I'm not asking about the ordinance. I like to ask whether you've already set up posts and have people stationed there to monitor the situation. We do not have posts set up along the roadside, but we do have surprise, checks. Not announced beforehand about such checks. The police, the LCSD and so on, we do take joint enforcement actions. We did one last week and we had one successful prosecution. We'll continue with such joint, efforts. I think what the government is telling us, and for residents who drive along that road, the problem is a lot more serious than what the government is saying. I think you need to step up prosecution. Otherwise, if the penalty is not severe enough, people simply continue to let the garbage, fall off the trucks. The landfills create a lot of methane gas. How can we make use of the methane gas and turn it into energy? But in your three papers regarding the extension of the three landfills, you never mention or that you would consider how you would make optimal use of the technology so that we can have waste to implement waste to energy at the landfills. Near the Twin Moon landfill, there is actually a natural gas power plant. If you incorporate this into your proposal, then we will be more convinced that you have this overall blueprint. My question is, in your study regarding the Twin Moon landfill, why have you not included this element? You've only talked about the baseline and the technical feasibilities. Secondly, for the northeast landfill, you say that you will use the methane gas for power generation at the landfill there. But I don't understand whether you would be creating a more serious air pollution problem when you turn the methane into electricity. That is, would you have some ducts to relate to transport the methane gas to the power plant for generation? I think we are already doing waste to energy conversion at our landfills. For the three landfills, part of the landfill gas is already used to generate electricity to power our own facilities and our offices. For the northeast landfill, the town gas company and the contractors are working together. We have a 19-kilometer long pipes which will carry the filtered methane to the typo plant and are used as fuel. We do collaborate closely with the town gas company and the power companies. Members understand that the landfill certainly is a facility that we are very concerned about, and it can easily become really a bone of contention. I hope members will be brief and concise when you speak. I have deliberately relaxed the rule a little bit this time. So any questions which are not related to the landfills, I have allowed members to ask questions. But I hope members understand that there are certain things which could be better discussed at the EA panel. So when members ask further questions from now, I hope you'll be more concise. Fernando Joe. Thank you. Regarding the landfill project itself, we have many questions. But the entire waste management strategies and whatnot, you have a specific plan to really, carry out your sustainable waste reduction blueprint to reduce the proportion of landfilling and increase the role of waste reduction. The Labour Party have learned from the experience of other jurisdictions. You say the landfilling will be reduced to 22%, and that is still far behind other countries. Take Taiwan, for example. In 1989, the proportion of waste which is being landfill was 89%. 17 years later, in 2006, it was down to 11.2%. Now it's less than 10%. In all the advanced countries, they realize that landfilling is the worst option to deal with waste, and they have therefore reduced the percentage to less than 10%. In Germany, it's 1%. In Hong Kong, we are still stuck with slogans. You say that you will support the recycling industries. You say you hope that you will, increase the proportion of waste recycled. But you don't have a plan. You don't have a timetable for that. And yet you've come up with this specific proposal to extend the landfills. And as a result, and nobody likes the pollution coming up from the landfills. You talk about, joint commitment. The three districts are shouldering the responsibility in a disproportionate manner. So how can we support your proposal? It's not possible for us to support your proposal until you have a specific, plan to ensure that we can really reduce waste at source, and also to drastically increase the role of recycling. And also the Labour Party will suggest that landfilling will only treat 5% of the waste. Albert Chan. I'd like to go back to the question of Longgutan or Black Point, and also the reclamation proposed by the Development Bureau for Residential Development. I think this is a repeat of the same mistake you made in Cheung Kwan O. Because I think the Secretary, could you, before going to the FC, give us a paper, give us a simple analysis on 2 points. First of all, the financial assessment. That is, if you are to relocate a Longgutan or Black Point residents, what will be the long-term financial impact? Is it going to be viable? As I proposed many years ago, the government should actually, reclaim the pig sties or the pig farms. In the end, the government made the profit because you only spend $1 billion to buy back the licenses, and but for Longgutan, you have to come with all kinds of measures. If you were to relocate Longgutan, and with the village relocated, the government can come up with new plans and benefit from that. But at the moment, the different departments are doing its respective part, and if we're not satisfied, other government departments have to do something else, and you end up spending more money. I think, although this is an issue for the Development Bureau, the Environmental Bureau also need to be to play a part. So otherwise, there are contradictions. So the Secretary give us a paper analyzing those 2 issues before you go to the FC. We have colleagues from different the 2 bureaus, and we've heard the points made by members. I think members can rest assured as far as cross-bureau collaboration is concerned. Regarding the relocation of reciting the villages, we need to have a discussion. When in our liaison with the villages before, we have not heard such an aspiration. So I think we need to really, communicate more with the villages first. Emily Lau, regarding the tipping trucks and the waste falling off the vehicles. You propose to fully enclose these trucks, but there are other trucks traveling on the roads. For almost 20 years, we suggested you should require them to be all fully enclosed, but the government has been unwilling to do that. Many Kaifongs are complaining very strongly. At Lower Park, the residents are saying that even mattresses are coming off these trucks. Is there any way you can do anything that you can do to ensure that all those trucks are fully enclosed and that no garbage fall off those vehicles? Thank you, Ms. Lau. Other than the other vehicles taking garbage to the landfills, other than those taking compressed garbage, they will need to properly cover up the waste or the garbage. Of course, on the one hand, we need self-discipline on the part of the trade. Well, there are some who exercise self-discipline, others do not. The residents are asking whether there's any way for the government to ensure that everybody comply with the rules. I think we need to step up prosecution, and I hope that for the trucks carrying mud or whatever, they could be better enclosed. Why is the government unwilling to take this action for more than 10 years? Dr. Chan, we will be subsidizing the tipping trucks for one to be retrofitted, and we will also enact legislation.
And they will be not be allowed into landfills if they are not properly equipped with the right facilities. We're not just talking about vehicles going to landfills. Well, I want an answer. We will look at practical means, and also we may have to come up with a suitable legislation. Mr. Alan Leung, at the last PWSC meeting, I stated the position of the Civic Party and explained why we will vote against the proposed items. So let me briefly recap today before we proceed to the vote. I became a member in 2004. At that time, the extension of landfill was already as discussion subject. Now 9 years has passed, and this West anti-landfill extension is now before us. Why do we have to vote against this? Because once it's passed, you regard this as a past problem. Every term of government is 5 years. If we let up our pleasure, then I just can't see how this action blueprint can be implemented. What are you going to really serious in doing more to help the recycling industries, to promote cycling? Are you going to look at the incinerator employing ionized vaporization? Or are you going to take one step at a time and provide only half measures? That's what the civil party is against. We must exert pressure so that the government would tell us that there are objectives in different phases, and there will be proper measures to help the recycling industries and to upgrade the green technology. If we just let this pass, and once the pressure is reduced, I'm afraid the government is not going to be serious about this, and we are going to see a repeat of past mistakes. And after 10 years or so, the future legislature will have to discuss further extension of landfills. That's why the Civic Party is going to vote against the extension plan for the the two landfills today. That's all I want to say, Mr. Chan Yun-han. Well, originally I didn't want to speak because Ms. Alice Mack has spoken on behalf of the FTU. I hope you will not just wait in relation to the retrofitting of RCVs or the trucks. You are so determined to do something about the Euro standards of vehicles. Why not do this immediately? We have so many RCVs on our roads in the territory. Why do you allow these the smelly vehicles to be around? So please do it quickly and immediately. Well, yes, the government has decided to retrofit a back cover and a sewer tank for RCVs. We have talked to the operators, and we are now talking about details. And I was talking about the supply of power from land for cruise coming to our terminal, and also the switching of field to low sulfur field when they have their birth here. Why can't we do this through legislation? And now, whenever I see an RCV, I will try to sniff very hard to see if there's an odor. We're going to present legislative proposals to this council in due course. I hope we can have your support. Secretary, your third members, I hope you would take bold steps in taking forward environmental protection measures in the future. 2 of 3, Mr. Gary Fang. Secretary, earlier, the Environmental Affairs panels went to South Korea for a study tour. We took a look at their advanced facilities, which is more advanced than us by more than 10 years. And one of the measures they have implemented is to have a levy of a charge on the food waste and waste. And at the same time, they also introduced extensively the producer responsibility, the system, and also the polluter pays principle. In the action blueprint, I expect at the end of the day, at the end of this year, you are going to introduce a charge on domestic waste by volume. But from 2013 to 15, you are only going to consult the business sector, the sector on the construction, on the costs of waste charging. So you are going to do this in the next step when it comes to the business sector. From 2001 to 2011, we have seen the doubling of waste produced by business from 430,000 to 830. So 3,000 among the 13,000 produced are construction waste. Time is running out. If you want us to, how can you ask us to continue to support further extensions if you're not going to do something about this? Well, there will be a request for response document to be issued by the Council on Sustainability. But for the action blueprint, we're saying that we would review the existing construction waste charging scheme. We have almost halved the amount of construction waste since 2006. We believe it's the right time to review the charges now and also to implement other measures to further reduce significantly the amount of construction waste. We are going to consult the community on a charge on domestic waste by volume. As for construction waste, 90% is now used for reclamation, but the remainder is still a large quantity. We'll continue to talk to this sector closely to step up recycling through design, through proper management measures, with a view to further reducing construction waste. Any follow-up? Mr. Chen Hang-ban, I have a number of questions. I would like to ask them one by one, and I expect them to be answered one by one. Methane gas of landfills. In some landfills, the methane gas is recovered. Town gas company would like to get methane gas. So how are you going to make use of our landfills? How are you going to recover methane gas from our landfills? That's the first question. Dr. Chan. Thank you, Mr. Chan. Methane is found in landfill gas. In the northeast NT landfill, our contractor is in cooperation with town gas. There's a 19-kilometer pipe taking landfill gas to the town gas plant in Tai Po, so that they don't have to use so much naphtha to produce town gas. And also we'll use the methane gas to generate electricity for our own use. We also need to produce heat. In NT East, there are other landfills where the methane gas is not properly utilized. We would like to do something about the Southeast NT landfill together with the town gas company. We are close to agreeing on something to do to use the methane gas for Southeast NT landfill with the town gas company. We would discuss with the town gas on how to utilize methane gas in landfills. Are you going to take the initiative, or is it the town gas? Well, it's a cooperative relationship. Second question, sea transport. We'd like you to use more sea transport for the waste going to the landfills, as this is a special concern of Twin Moon because of the worry about clean road surface on our roads. For the 3 landfills, only the West NT landfill use sea transport extensively. For some, the other one is more inland. For this West NT landfill, some 72% of the waste was shipped there by sea. Only 28% was sent by road, so it's about 270 truckloads every day. We also make use of our transfer network, but it's still not adequate. For the Sha Tin and West and the Kowloon transportations, they are more or less saturated up to capacity. We need to do something to provide more in NT East and NT West. Municipal waste, solid municipal waste from Cyclone that went to the northwest, southeast NT, and they will have to go to other landfills later, and they need transport stations. We must have a network to take on the additional waste. Secretary, I think you have heard members that they have repeatedly asked questions, important questions, as regards the reduction of the impact on local residents. I hope you'll be willing to give a more detailed account to the EA panel in due course. Mr. Gary Chan, we have been saying that the waste problem is a territory-wide problem, and therefore everyone has to chip in. And you have withdrawn the paper on Cheung Kwan O landfill. But I would add that the Twin Moon and Takuling residents have paid a high cost. In South Korea, when they implement facilities that may cause a nuisance, they will provide compensation to the residents. So now we are going to do something about the 2 landfills in Takulang and Twin Moon. The residents there have suffered a lot, more than 10 years. So are you going to take on board the concrete compensation measures? For example, when you introduce a charging fee for waste, would you exempt them because they already allow you to have a landfill there, and if you at the same time levy a charge on their waste, is the double penalty? Or would there be any reduction or remission of rates or electricity tariff? So are you going to respond to these requests positively? Well, when we go to South Korea, we will know that they would introduce measures to the affected community. We do have a vision to we would like to see if this is applicable in Hong Kong. This is a new idea, a new concept. We have an open mind about this. We would like to have a discussion. The request for response document on the charging scheme for the waste would be the right opportunity for the public to offer views, so that we can set the policy and the future direction to go.
2 more members for the 4th round. Again, 2 minutes each. I hope you'll be succinct if you can. James Toll. I heard Mr. Gary Chen suggesting that for a district like Tuen which has to put up with such a large landfill, I think we should consider waiving the residents from having to pay the garbage fee. Well, there's one scenario where vehicles traveling towards the landfill and the trucks are being overloaded. Would you immediately have a car following such a vehicle to see where they're going? Do you have such an arrangement? Dr. Chen, for vehicles which are overweight, we work together already with the police while we allow for some flexibility, some leeway of 5%. Let's say it's 5%. Let's say if they exceeded the 5% leeway, would you have a mechanism to immediately follow these vehicles? We would take down the vehicle, the license plate number. For a public works project, that's easy for us. We simply tell our colleagues that these vehicles are overweight. But for other private vehicles, if they keep on making we certainly follow up on them if they involve private sites. My question: will you be able to follow them so that they will know that they're being followed and they won't take a chance anymore, Mr. Lau? Our colleagues are already following on this, especially in Tseung Kwan O. In the past, we had monitor where these vehicles go to. It's not done, on a regular basis, but if there's a need, we would do that. Mr. Wuchiwai. Sorry, it should be Dr. Elizabeth Quat first. I'd like to reiterate that the problem concerning refuse vehicles, whether you're going to extend the landfill or not, this is a problem that you need to resolve. It's a territory-wide issue. During this time, the government has come up with various ideas, including the enactment legislation and the provision of subsidies. Ms. James Toh talk about garbage vehicles which are overweight, and if they cannot enter the landfills, they'll come out, turn around, and they will they simply dump the garbage illegally. And so the odor, that the residents will suffer from may not necessarily just come from the landfills, but also as a result of the illegal tipping of garbage. So is there any way that you can tackle the problem other than following these vehicles? Regarding these black points, what are you going to do? Thank you, Dr. Quat. Other than prosecution and working closely with the trade, we also have CCTVs installed at black spots. We've already promised to set up these CCTVs so that there will be a great deterrent effect. Where will you do that? We'll do it as soon as possible. In the Secretary's letter to the Tseung Kwan O residents, he said that we'll do it in 2014. Of course, we'll do it ASAP. Secretary, yes, for Tseung Kwan O, we all know that at certain spots, certain areas are black spots where the drivers of overweight vehicles will dump the garbage illegally. So we will give priority in dealing with this problem. We will liaise with the district council. We hope to be able to work out the details as soon as possible so that we can put in the resources in so that that we can get started with this. Regarding the tipping trucks, we're not just talking about retrofitting vehicles for Tseung Kwan O. Through legislation and through provision of incentives, we will talk to the trade so that we can enhance the quality of these tipping vehicles as soon as possible. Other than retrofitting of the refuse collection vehicles, even after retrofitting them, if they're not fully enclosed and the garbage still continue to fall off these trucks. So how are you going to deal with that problem? Dr. Chan. Other than subsidizing the owners for the retrofitting of the vehicles, we also have legislation requiring these trucks to have a tailplate and a tank for sewers. If the trucks are not enclosed, Of course, we need cooperation from the trade. On the other hand, we also have law enforcement officers. If nuisance is caused when the trucks are not properly covered, there are already existing ordinance which we can invoke to prosecute. If the vehicles are fully retrofitted, the trade has told us that they will do their best. The government has provided a subsidy, and they, on their part, will have to exercise self-discipline. Otherwise, we will be very serious when it comes to prosecution, because a lot of public resources are used to help them retrofit the vehicles. I also like to follow up on the timetable for the carriage of garbage by sea. Do you have a timetable as to when? Whether you can take garbage to Tseung Kwan O by sea. For Tseung Kwan O, they don't have a pier, but we will talk to the CEDD, and the letter has promised that they will try to take more of the fill materials to the pier. So I think that can help relieve pressure on Wan Po Road. I think the crucial point is whether it's the garbage collection trucks and the tipping trucks. I think we have to. It's important that we will prevent the sewers falling off those vehicles. So I hope the Secretary will come up with a timetable as soon as possible for all these enhancement measures. I think this one is very important. We hope that these measures will be implemented ASAP. Mr. Wuchiwai. Thank you. Last week, on behalf of the Democratic Party, I reiterated our objection to the proposal to extend the 3 landfills. In the course of a discussion, we saw that there are many things related to waste management which require further planning and consultation and studies, and you need to listen to the views of different vested interest groups. Past history have shown us that if different government departments are willing to shoulder the responsibility for waste reduction, but the government has not performed very well in that regard. On the one hand, I see the government has the determination to tackle the problem, and when we put pressure on the administration, I think waste management could become a responsibility which everyone in the community will need to shoulder. So at the present stage, we're not willing to support the 3 papers. Would you like the Secretary to respond? No? Mr. Yip Kok Him. Thank you. The government is putting this proposal to us, but the District Council has not yet had the opportunity to discuss these proposals. I hope the government and the Environmental Bureau should really, bear in mind that it's not right that you do not give us the views of the district councillors for reference. I hope we'll not repeat the same mistake again. If you believe that I think we should allow the relevant district councils to express their views. In the past, we have also always relied on the views of the district council for our reference. I hope the government will make a commitment to do that. Secondly, you have always indicated that there's a JR that is pending, and we don't know why we still don't have a judgment regarding incineration. So I think you should tell us about your views regarding the long-term position regarding incineration. Could the Secretary tell us. I think you should give us a more detailed, plans regarding incineration. Thank you, Mr. Yip. We've heard many comments and suggestions, and also members reminding our colleagues that we need to step up communication with the local community, including the district councils and the villages. Regarding modern incineration technology, in our blueprint, we've explained that through waste reduction at source, and so that we will reduce the garbage being landfill from 55% to 22%. So we have a very clear approach. That is, in Hong Kong, we need to introduce or use modern incineration facility. And we also have some studies ongoing, or some have even been completed. So once we have the result of the JR, we will implement modern incineration technology in order to relieve the pressure on the landfills. And apart from the landfills, we also have a plan to we have a strategy to communicate with the residents living near the potential incinerators to ensure that the facility will be acceptable to them. We've already planned for that in our blueprint, and once we have the outcome of the JR, we will start immediately so that Hong Kong will not have to rely solely on our landfills for waste management. We hope that we can adopt a two-pronged approach. We have modern incinerators and also relieving the pressure on our landfills so that the nuisance will be minimized. Colleagues, it's now 10:28. I propose to extend the meeting by 15 minutes. 15 minutes. We'll let Ms. Emily Lau ask a question, and I'll see whether any other members would like to speak. Emily Lau. Chairman, I was referring to the Tim Min District Council, and other members also made the same point that the government is not, being right. The District Council has many items on the agenda today. The landfill is only on the 4th agenda item. They don't have time to discuss this yet, and yet the Secretary is asking us to vote on the proposal. I think your approach is very disrespectful of the Tim Min District Council or any other district councils. So how can you, be accountable to the District Council? Does it mean that in future we don't have to listen to the district councils at all? And then in your paper you say you will consult them. Are you being contradictory? Are you contradicting yourself? They have yet to discuss this item, and we have to vote on this already. So what is your view regarding the role of the District Council? Secretary, of course we are very concerned about the impact of these facilities on the local community, especially for Tuen Mun, because we know that the proposal is for an advanced, survey and consultative study. We need to go through the consultative study to obtain the data so that we can respond to the aspirations of the community. We all know that when we build an infrastructure, there will be an impact on the traffic situation. Well, but we have to wait until the study is completed. Secretary, I'd like to ask how many of your colleagues present here today will be attending the District Council meeting. Dr. Chen and Mr. Lau will be gone. So you want to get our approval first before you go to the District Council. Dr. Chen, what are you going to tell the District Council later on this morning? We don't know whether or not the proposal will be approved. Dr. Chen, what are you going to say to the District Council? Starting from 2004, we have been going to the Tim Mun District Council and the working group to update them on the progress of the extension of the landfill. This morning I'll be telling them, first of all, the monitoring what we're doing in terms of monitoring the impact and so on. I think we've been doing more in the last couple of weeks. Well, I think it's right that you need to say this, but this is not the right stage for you to do it. Especially, we're not going to go ahead with extension. We're only going to conduct a study. Why don't you wait for the district council to express the views before you come to us? Why are you doing it the other way around?
Well, we have been consulting the district council all along. As you can see in the annex of the paper, you know that when we went to consult the district council over this landfill, we'll be telling them the operation of the landfill now, and also we'll be explaining to the district councillors that we are now upgrading part of the project, because some councillors have the feeling that we are asking for funding approval to do the extension. Of course, they will understand after you have told them so many times. The question is you haven't communicated with them in a timely manner. All right, if there's no other comment, I'll now put the first paper to the vote, and that is PWSC 2013-14, number 20. Would those in favor please raise your hand? Some members have asked for division. The division bell will be rung for 5 minutes.
喺我宣布 before I declare the results, please check your vote. Voting starts now. You have 3 buttons in front of you. Please press one of them to cast your vote. Before I declare the results, please check your vote. Voting is now closed. I'll ask the clerk to display the results. 30 members present, 18 for, 10 against, 1 abstained. I declare the item is endorsed. Second paper, PWSC 2013-14, number 21. Members, I now put this item to a vote. Would those in favor please raise your hand? All right, the division bell will be rung for 5 minutes.
好，而家開始表。
Voting starts now.
喺我宣佈
Before I declare the results, please check your vote, members. Voting is now closed. And here's the result. 30 members present and participated in the voting, 15 for, 13 against, 1 abstain. The proposal, the item is endorsed. Members, the public works projects discussed today will be submitted to the Finance Committee on the 12th of July. In relation to today's items, would members would like to have separate voting for them at the FC? Oh, okay. Some members have asked for that. So we have finished our business today. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.